Whether you're a seasoned vet of the payments industry or a brand new rookie who just heard the term dual pricing for the first time, you're in the right place. This is the only podcast that shares the strategies and stories behind selling merchant services, all from the perspective of those on the front lines. Welcome to Agent First.
All right, welcome again to another episode of Agent First podcast. This is kind of a special one for us today. I'm joined today by not an agent. We've normally had kind of lots of sales agents on this, but kind of a different departure today. But somebody still going to tell an amazing story about entrepreneurship, and that's Mike Spangenberg. Mike, welcome in, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, appreciate it.
So Mike is the founder and CEO of State 48 Apparel Company, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and for me, this is nothing, I don't think I've ever really told you this, but when I first started Pay Compass, I had 10 or 20 goals written down on, and one of them was to do a collaboration with State 48.
Wow,
so
really?
We got to make our dreams come true earlier this year. That was awesome, man.
That means a lot.
Awesome.
I mean, very humbled by that.
Yeah.
All your guys' support on the foundation side. You
Absolutely.
guys have been awesome already. Great friends.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I'd love to kind of take it to the beginning for you. Like I was calling you Mr. State 48, but you've got deep roots here in Arizona. Mm-hmm. Your company is all about Arizona, obviously. So let's kind of take it back to the beginning where it all started for you.
Yeah. So I just turned 40 years old, born and raised here in Arizona, which is rare. Grew up in Chandler. It used to genuinely upset me, being in high school and going to my favorite sports games, watch my favorite sports teams, the Cardinals at Sun Devil Stadium, and most of the fans be the opposing fans. Yes. Or people wanting to, after they graduate high school, they want to go explore opportunities in New York and California, which are all great states, right? Cool. But where the hell is our sense of local pride? So and I'll even back up a little bit, is even as a little kid, I've always had the entrepreneur itch, and I always knew, not to be corny, but I was put on this plan to do something special, and grateful that I get to do what I love. And I've always loved clothes. I think that picking out my clothes for school was my favorite thing about going to school, unless it was something to do with marketing or whatever. And fast forward to 2013, we created State 48, a lifestyle brand that's clothing for all inspired by Arizona. And what I take a lot of pride in is we were the first company to ever trademark State 48. I think there's 100 plus organizations in Arizona that have State 48 branding in it, which I think is just a beautiful thing, that there's more people growing up here and love our state, because it's a beautiful place that's very welcoming.
Absolutely. So you started this apparel company, and I mean, was it just a hit from the beginning, or there was a lot of hard times?
I'm still waiting for it to be a hit. Yeah. No, I mean, I had this idea, but never thought I would have been in business with one of my great friends growing up, Stefan. My dad was our T-ball coach. We were working together. We were living together, and he knew I was trying to create a brand. And he knew a similar brand called Down with Detroit, and he was from Michigan. He was kind of sharing that vision. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Let's go all in on just representing our state, right? Whether it's, heavy on sports at the beginning, just because we're big sports fans. Sure. But he thought of the name State 48 one day, no joke, he came out brushing his teeth, and I swear to God, I was like, what's State 48? And I was he was like, Arizona's 48th state. And I was like, it was aha moment.
Yeah.
You always hear that. And it was the light. I mean, I had was writing down names in a notebook for probably a year. Nothing ever clicked, and it was just oh man, that is absolutely perfect. And we're cool, let's start a company together. And then we're we need a graphic designer, so we brought on Nick, his younger brother, self-taught graphic designer. One of the main logos first created was our main logo you see today.
Really?
That we were able to collaborate on and all that good stuff. So yeah, it was grassroots as they come. We started, probably the smartest thing we ever did was invest our $1,500 collectively into a trademark, and waited almost a year for State 48 to be official. And then we started slanging shirts out of our house, and, first Fridays, before it was cool, it was a dirt lot. And, I remember apartment complexes, pool parties, wherever they would allow us to sell. It was just our main logo and a bunch of different color combinations. And I see them today and reflect on those days. I'm what the heck was I thinking? What the heck we were thinking? But, we were always smart of let's just put it out there. Let's see what works, what doesn't work, and worked full-time jobs the first 3 years, and didn't take $1, the first 3 years, because especially retail is freaking hard.
Yeah.
But we just kept realizing the more you invest in yourself and great people around you, you grow.
Right.
And if you do business the right way, you work your butt off, like it's simply going to work out.
Yeah. Amen, brother. So what year was that when you guys started?
So 2013, obviously ideation started well before that, but 2013. So we just celebrated 12 years in business.
Nice.
And it's just really cool to see where it is today. But
so I must have one of those original ones. I don't think you ever talked about that because it was 2014 at the 2014-2015 at like the farmers market that they do at that big church up in North Phoenix. I bought a shirt from somebody there. It might have been one of you guys. I don't know, but
probably, or we would sell to other, retailers and then they resell it.
That's
but
cool.
It's cool. We bought we did a couple screen print orders to kick it off through a buddy of mine. And then we quickly realized, hey, we need to do this on our own. So we bought a heat press and just started figuring out how to make shirts. And we would just, once an order came in, we'd press the shirts and, kind of cringe thinking about now of the quality. I mean, it's still like when you pay back then $20 for a shirt, that's going to last you years, even if it's not as, the same quality as screen printing, like it's still worth it. But it's just the beauty of entrepreneurship. You put it out there, you see what works, you keep improving, and you listen to your community, and typically things work out.
That's awesome, man. So so you guys are doing it out of your house, you're selling it wherever you can, you're starting to see things grow. Was there a moment that was like, okay, this is for real, let's go, we're going to quit our jobs and really go all in on this?
Another smart thing we did, because we did a lot of things that weren't smart. We never did figure out an operating agreement. We didn't define roles and responsibilities. We were like arguing about stupid social media stuff. But I would say one of the smartest things we did, in addition of getting the trademark done, is we staggered going full-time first. So Stefan went full-time, then Nick went full-time, then I went last. And that really just taught us the discipline, but also realized like more and more you invest in yourself, the more it continued to grow. And I became jealous because I was like, damn, I want to work State 40 full time. I was like working full-time hours, but still, working in the hotel industry. But that was our path. And then our big aha moment, we went through Phoenix Fashion Week, learned the business of fashion, gained a lot of success there and learned a lot, met a lot of great people, because that's what life's all about. And then through that, we got connected with Bruce Arians' son. Bruce Arians, the former Cardinals head coach. Absolutely. And we've always wanted to collaborate and work with our sports teams. And, you always you're reaching for like the big athlete names and stuff. And like, what was cool is when we got connected with Jake Arians, and he has the president of the Arians Family Foundation. They became family right away. And they're like, yeah, we'll give these guys a shot. And we ended up creating this logo that's still their foundation logo today. The Cardinals had a lot of success. We were selling the shirts. A portion of those proceeds went to their Arians Family Foundation, what helps neglected children with bad upbringing. And they gave us that shot. And then the Cardinals, were doing really well. It became a Cardinals tee. We were at all BA's events and got to meet so many great people. The shirt was on Monday Night Football, and that gave us credibility, and then next thing you know, Diamondbacks took notice. We became corporate partners. We were way over ahead there, and then started work with the Suns, and so much heavy on sports, and our dreams were like coming true. It was like, you kind of recognize in the moment or cherish it, the wins. Cause it's like, man, I'm, remember,
you're so busy, right?
Sitting in the stands at Sun Devil Stadium when no one wanted to be there, and watching one of my favorite players, Adrian Wilson, play, and now he's one of my great friends, right? So it's like, these are the moments that, when you reflect on it, made it all worth it. But then we started working with, Phoenix Children's Hospital, Dignity Health, and like people loved what we stood for. And your reputation's everything. So, absolutely. It could quickly go south if you don't treat people right. And, that's what formed the structure of collaborations. And where we're at today is our number one revenue stream. Right. So it's a big part of what we do. And that's what we always want to be known for, more than selling t-shirts and hats. How do we add value to other organizations? Because we're grateful for every penny that's coming into us, just like you guys.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. So that's kind of cool. I didn't realize. Started with the BA Foundation.
Yeah. I mean, that was the connection through Phoenix Fashion Week, and then Bruce Arians. Again, he's like my uncle now.
Great guy.
The best. And it's like they gave us a shot. They believed in us, and it's tough to break into like the sports world because rightfully so. Like you have to pay. It could big dollars for sponsorships, or why would a big time athlete care about working with so him giving us a shot, he didn't need our dollars, but like we helped create community for him. And so we were at all his events and have so many great memories being involved with that. And they're just always part of our story.
That's cool. That's cool. So that's where kind of the beginning of the collaborations, which has become, at least for me, for a guy on the outside looking at it as a big fan of the brand, has become really what you guys are known for, right? Is the collaborations with, and for those who don't know, you look up State 48 apparel, you look up State 48 t-shirts, you're going to see all these different collaborations with so many companies, foundations, nonprofits, sports teams,
elementary
school. It just
schools,
seems like it never ends, right? Yeah, which is awesome.
And that's the scary thing. How long will this go on? Right. I don't know, right? Like I hope people always want to co-brand with us, but you never know. So that's the tough part in our world. Like, how do you really forecast that? You hope to get better every single year, especially on the B2B side. But and that's where we've really evolved to being a one-stop shop for all apparel and design. And what that means is we offer screen printing embroidery services for other organizations. So that can help us be more sustainable and scalable, because retail is very challenging. You always got to give people a reason to buy another Arizona inspired shirt. So the collaboration side with a minimum order of 50, I mean, they're used as team member gifts, marketing assets, like you name it, fundraisers. So that's what's really cool, is we use our creative team to kind of collaborate with them to create something special and tell a story on a shirt, because people forget that's a word of mouth marketing is such a real thing. Like you see someone in the airport or in a different state, you kind of, you connect, whether you're wearing your Cardinal hat or a State 48 shirt. And like, we just want to be that recognized brand of Arizona that does it the right way.
Right. I remember I was, Nini, my wife and I were in, Europe last year, and I was wearing a State 48 shirt, and a guy like fist bumped me and said,
"Oh, really?
Hey,
you get like the nod."
I was like, "That's cool."
Yeah.
That's
now I see people all the time. I mean, now we have license plates that benefit our foundation, so I never take that lightly. And now when I see people in the streets, or games or whatever, and hey, great shirt. Sometimes people still look at me like weird, like, hey, who's this guy? But it's just always, it never gets old seeing those.
That's cool, man. Yeah. That's cool. So last, 15 years or so, you guys developing this, figuring this all out. There's been I'm sure some rough spots, right? Some nasty patches, man. Is there anything like you were like, this one defined us? There was a struggle. We overcame something. We, maybe you thought like, this is going to be it. It's all over. I'm sure there had to be some of those moments.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the more you grow, the harder it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think like, tomorrow I feel a different way, right?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. I would say our biggest like hurdle that we overcame that I was super proud of is, it's very hard to work with friends and family. Stefan and I, again, we're friends growing up. It wasn't a great partnership on the business side, and it sucked because we no longer became friends, right? But we finally came to a realization that like, hey, I want to do this forever. He didn't. I was able to purchase his shares. Now we actually have a friendship again. That's cool. It actually strengthened Nick and I's relationship, because he's the younger brother. They're best friends. And it was kind of like, 2 versus 1 sometimes. And it wasn't like that, like intentionally. We all love and respect each other, but it's like, that is very hard to work with friends and family. Now, what I will say is like, we wouldn't be where we're at today without the three of us. And, once you, especially you get older and mature and you reflect, you're like, man, we were all so stubborn and stuff. But because we didn't really define those roles and responsibilities at the beginning, I think that kind of hurt us. But I'm just so grateful that we had like a peaceful and a mutually beneficial exit, because I hear horror stories all the time. And then that really allowed me to step into the role I wanted to and lead this thing, and kind of, do things the way I wanted to do, and allowed Stefan to move and do what he wanted to do. That's so cool. That was a pivotal point, I think, awesome. in our organization for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now fast forward today, you guys are how many employees now?
24.
That's awesome.
24,
That's awesome.
25, yeah.
And you have multiple retail locations plus your production facility offices, right?
Yeah, 4 retail locations. Again, the B2B side of the business, the foundation, which, shout out to everyone in the nonprofit world, because I totally, my heart wanted, and it still does. Like, that's one of my favorite things about our organization is to be able to support local entrepreneurs and, help them not make the mistakes that we made with the help of our network and our community. Right.
Yeah.
But I totally underestimated, and that's kind of like my way of doing things. I'm like, I'll figure it out. Right. But I totally underestimated like how much time and money goes into creating a nonprofit and sustaining it. 5 years later, it's partners like you guys that really help us serve that mission. Yeah. And we're making tremendous impact and doing things the right way. And I feel as a business leader in Arizona, like, you got to give to give, and it can't be any other way. And that's where like how to, especially after the pandemic, so many people realize, in my opinion, of like, hey, life's too short. I need to go after whatever I'm happy about. Now, you better realize there's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of hard work that goes in that, because I think you'd agree entrepreneurship is like portrayed to be this sexy thing and you're going to make billions of dollars. Like, hey, let me know how to do that, because I'm still trying to figure that out. But the fact that create an organization and you get to work with people you like and you trust, and create, that identity in the community and really leave a kind of an impact is what it makes it all. That's
success all in itself. Right there.
And then it's like you need sessions like this to be able to like say that out loud, to be like, oh yeah, I remember why I worked
remind ourselves
till 12 at night, sometimes even 12 years later. Still ups and downs every single day, but I get to do this, and I love this, and I love this kind of stuff of being out in the community and talking to people. Because I don't thrive behind my computer. Anyone knows me, like, oh, Mike's gonna take forever on his emails, and I'm getting better at that. But like I'd prefer just to be out and about and like, do what I love.
There's multiple people behind the camera right now snickering back there, because you and I are a lot alike in that. I take forever on emails. I tend to be like, we'll just figure it out. Let's go. Let's follow our dreams. And
I'm all over the place. But like, I guess it's cool to mature and also delegate more and put people in the roles that they're really great at. Cause that's the ultimate goal, is everyone in your organization to be able to focus on what they do great. And if I was living in my email, then I'm not doing my part of growing the business, but I know it's super important too, though. I just old school. I'm like, I want to call, let's not go back and forth on email. And then there's a time and place for that, but I just get overwhelmed.
We'll figure it out. Right. We'll figure it out. So let's talk about the foundation. Cause I think that's something that the first time I heard about it, I was like, we're in, let's go. It really spoke to me, because it's about supporting, Arizona small businesses. And I love that we were able to be a part of it. And you guys just had a big fundraiser that raised almost $130,000, which is freaking awesome, man. So let's talk about that. Like, where did that idea come from? What's the genesis of that?
Again, back to like, hey, we'll figure this out. But I mean, again, I've always known and wanted to be more than selling t-shirts and hats. And like, we were doing saying yes to a lot of community impact stuff. But that just spreads yourself thin on the for-profit side. And, the kindness and the heart I have, I would want to say yes to everything. Whether that's donations or sponsorships, but you can't, right? Especially as you're growing, at least in our situation. So how do we create a impact and a legacy through our organization? And that for us, that was supporting entrepreneurship. People reach out all the time. Hey, how you do this? How you do this? And like, you want to be able to like, tell them everything and like sit down with them, but you have no time. Right. So it's like, how do you do this on scale? And I think now it was the perfect timing, starting in 2020, of just like where we, I think, separate ourselves from other entrepreneur support organizations, which we also collaborate with all of them. And that's what we're all about, collaboration over competition. But like, how do we make really cool free events where different, industry experts, CEOs, founders, whatever, in different backgrounds, different industries, and bring them in a room and make it actually fun, like to actually give this practical advice and share this like inspiration, and also the realness of like, this shit is hard, respectfully, right? Like, having my friend Jason, founder of Bad Birdie, at our last Entrepreneur Speaker Series, and everyone, thinks, big business is so glamorous, and like, hey, there's some real challenges there, right? Everyone's dealing with the same stuff, but like, it's the same stuff, but different. Right. So it's like, but how do we like help others, whether it's like hiring the right legal, team, or, for us, like we waited years to really invest into like accounting support. Right. And that hurt us. Right. So like, having operating agreement, all these things that you learn as you go, like we want to pay that forward with the help of our community and say, don't do this, but do this. And that we feel like that's going to help people be more successful, because we give out grant funding. We've given out $137 with the grant funding, and we're planning on another 50 this year, and it's only going to keep growing. And again, we started with $1,500, so anything's possible. But, some of these, grant winners have earned $8,000, $10,000. It's awesome. more than the money, though. It's like, if you stay with our community that does it the right way, and you get to learn from all these people that you would spend as, top dollars for coaching sessions and all that kind of stuff. That's what it's all about, creating this ecosystem of like helping people win. Then you're ultimately helping create jobs in Arizona and making this a beautiful place. And then again, as these entrepreneurs are growing up, like if you're doing it the right way, it just makes our community a better place. Yeah.
Right?
And not saying there's all these, bad people doing bad things, but like, I just believe that like there's enough to go around for everyone. And like, let's just help each other.
That's right. That's right. Well, I think at the fundraiser the other night, there was a young woman that spoke about the grant she had received, but she spoke about the money just briefly, but it was more about the community that she felt she was a part of now because of the State 48 and the connections and hey, I'm part of this group and open doors, which I think is, ultimately the most important part of it. At least for me, it was. I mean,
100%.
I say all the time, we're building this plane while we're flying it, right? I'm just like you. We're figuring out as we go, sort of thing. And there's no grand plan. You just kind of figure out as you go, and to have those connections to somebody and say, hey, I've been there. Let me help you through this. You don't have to make those same mistakes as massive.
Yeah, even 12 years into it, like that's my favorite thing to go to our events, So we do Beyond Business events, which typically every other month, different topics of business and typically panel discussions. Even like one of our last ones, Mentorship Matters, right? We had Luis Gonzalez, the former, legend with the Diamondbacks, and Eric Moses with Fiesta Bowl, and like just great people like from all different backgrounds, but it's all telling you the same stuff. So we talk about different topics, and it's like, I go to those like, all right, cool. I'm not going to walk off the ledge tomorrow, right? Or it's like, oh, I learned this nugget, or you meet these people. And it's like, if you put the room keeps growing and it's like a safe space, being yourself. Like people always ask, what's dress code? Whatever the heck you want to wear, right? We want to make it cool. It's very diverse. We have support more young women entrepreneurs than anyone, awesome. From all different ages and backgrounds. And that's what's dope about our events is like, what we always want it to be. We want it to be a cool vibe, but you also learn, and it's just good people helping good people.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So what's next for State 48? What I mean, if we fast forward, a few years down the road, what do you see is coming?
Yeah.
next?
I mean, on the for-profit side, we'd love to be able to just be printing everyone's shirts in Arizona outside even the co-brand and stuff. Again, that allows us to be more sustainable and scalable. And like, we care about quality and service, something I haven't touched on. Like I spent 15 years in the hotel industry. Like, that is very, very important to myself and everyone in the organization about going above and beyond. If we make mistakes, we're going to make it right. And I think that separates ourselves from, a lot of respectfully screen printers in the Valley. And since we know retail, that gives us a competitive advantage of like, hey, we can help develop products or anything like that. So that's really what we're focused on the B2B side. We're still always going to, really focus on experiences and such. And, we got the nonprofit rocking and rolling. We got our license plate that was launched in October of 23.
That's awesome, man.
So that's helping us fundraise. And so that way we can ultimately focus more on the programming side. Right. But yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. We just got to continue to get better. And, I don't know how much retail we'll expand into because that's hard, but like, I don't know. Well, I think the sky's the limit for us.
That's kick ass, man. Yeah. So the one thing you touched on earlier was the quality aspect of it. I will say that's something that hats off to you guys because the t-shirt, the quality, you always use high quality shirts, right? Yeah. You're not skimping on that. Sometimes people think t-shirts, whatever, make them a mass. Don't worry about it. But they're great quality. I think that speaks to your brand, right? Because your brand's on that, right? It's representation.
100%. And that's been my thing since day one. We're not reinventing the wheel here. We'd use a really nice quality cotton polyester tee that most people love. But it's like, it was always mind blowing to me, even when we did 20,000 t-shirt giveaways with Diamondbacks or whatever. And, seeing other organizations, buy like the cheapest shirt there is. And it's like, no one wants to wear that. So like invest a little bit more into, but anyway, we have a lifetime, guarantee on all our, even $34 products. Like who does that? Like we do. And we really care about quality service. Even if 2 years down the road, like something happened to your shirt, like, hey, we're going to make it right. Like we care about our people. And I think too many organizations focus on the acquiring new, which is important. I get that, but like we love to really focus on pouring into our existing community that's already supporting us and, rocking with us since, as long as they have. So that's awesome, that's important.
That's awesome. So there's somebody out there right now that are listening and saying like, man, I want to be an entrepreneur or I'm just getting into this. And those guys are, they've done it, right? And which we haven't by no means, but we're trying to figure it out as we go, right? What advice would you give that person, that up and coming, that, or the people even at, your business, events?
Yeah.
What is that one biggest piece of advice you'd say
if I could say a couple things, I think first it's like, what problem are you solving? Are you passionate about this? Because it's only going to get harder. And that's what's kept me going forever. It's like, I get to do this, having that mindset and really always investing in your personal and professional growth. Like I've always had that growth mindset where I want to be better. I know I'm not the smartest dude in the room. I want to be around people that inspire me. Like you got to get uncomfortable to learn. Otherwise you're going to be in the same situation. You always are, but it really just breaks down to like, and I would say last is like, do your best, forget the rest. I even got that tattooed on me just because like awesome. You can get stressed as an entrepreneur of like the million things you have to do. And it's like, if you literally just do your best, like everything's going to work out. I would like to think. But.
I love that, man. Yeah. I think I've always said, you got to embrace the suck, right? You better just love that process.
Yeah, I suck a lot. I have no problem admitting that, right?
Yeah.
You got to be humble because it'll humble you.
Yeah. First. Amen. Yeah. For sure. Well, Mike, I appreciate you being here, man. It was awesome having you here, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks, everyone, for watching another episode of the Agent First podcast. Thanks much.
Thank you.